Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and a warm welcome to the inaugural edition of the Lee Kuan Yew World City Prize Network Webinar Series. My name is Chelsea and I will be your MC for this webinar. This is a dedicated platform for the network member cities to share innovative urban solutions, discuss common challenges, and showcase their achievements and contributions to creating livable, vibrant, and sustainable urban communities. It is designed to foster collective learning and facilitate the exchange of best practices among cities. Before we start, let me bring your attention to a few administrative instructions. As we will be hosting a question and answer segment after the guest speaker's presentation, please submit your questions using the Zoom question and answer chat box. Without further delay, let me now introduce our first speaker for today, Mr. Hugh Lim, the Executive Director of the Centre for Livable Cities, who will deliver the welcome address for the webinar this evening. Mr. Hugh Lim is the Executive Director of the Centre for Livable Cities. Prior to joining that, Mr. Lim was the CEO of the Building and Construction Authority, BCA, where he was actively involved in developing the latest iteration of the Singapore Green Building Master Plan, a key component of the Singapore Green Plan 2030. He has held the appointment of Deputy Secretary, Community, Youth and Sports at the Ministry of Culture, Community and Youth, and concurrently as a board member of Sports SG. He played a leadership role in the development of Singapore's Sports Facility Master Plan, as well as in overseeing the Singapore Sports Hub project. He also supervised plans for the development of an expanded Outward Bound Singapore campus. It is now my pleasure to invite Mr. Lim to deliver the welcome address. Mr. Lim, please.
Thank you very much, Chelsea. A very good day to all of you who are joining us around the world for this inaugural session of the Lee Kuan Yew World City Prize Network Webinar Series. In 2010, the Centre for Livable Cities, CLC, and the Urban Redevelopment Authority, or URA, launched the Lee Kuan Yew World City Prize, which recognizes the achievements of outstanding cities that have demonstrated outstanding urban initiatives, policies, and projects which epitomize foresight, good governance, and innovation to meet the needs of their residents and overcome challenges faced by the cities. Through the prize, Singapore hopes to facilitate the sharing of best practices in urban solutions among cities and spur innovation in sustainable urban development. In 2024, the City Network for the Lee Kuan Yew World City Prize was established to facilitate global knowledge exchange on building livable and sustainable cities and to contribute towards improving the lives of citizens globally. In addition to the World City Summit, this network serves as an ongoing platform for cities to exchange expertise, engage in thought-provoking dialogue, and work together on the most pressing needs for our cities. Today's session is the inaugural one in the Prize Network webinar series, where we invite network members to share best-in-class practices from their cities, enabling global urban leaders and practitioners to connect and exchange in multilateral knowledge exchanges. By sharing knowledge, we can address not only the needs of today, but anticipate what we may need to be prepared for in future. This webinar series is one of many steps in our collective journey to build more resilient, inclusive, and thriving cities. Bilbao was awarded the inaugural Lee Kuan Yew World City Prize in 2010 for its remarkable and holistic approach towards urban transformation. Driven by visionary leadership and strategic collaboration between government, business, and the community, the city's integrated approach has not only revitalized the city, but also enhanced its cultural vibrancy, social cohesion, and economic competitiveness. Since then, Bilbao has continued its impressive transformation. We are honored to have Mr. Asier Abaunza, Councillor Delegate from Bilbao City Council, as our keynote speaker today. Mr. Abaunza will share valuable insights into Bilbao's remarkable urban transformation from its industrial port origins to its current status as a thriving cultural metropolis, highlighting the city's continued achievements. The session will delve into Zorot Zaure, one of the city's most ambitious urban renewal projects, and share some of the city's other strategic initiatives. In this session, Mr. Abaunza will also provide valuable perspectives on how mobility, economic development, and social cohesion have played pivotal roles in shaping Bilbao's future. We hope that today's discussion and the insights from our distinguished speaker spark new ways of thinking about mobility and new forms of collaboration across sectors, systems, and disciplines. Before I hand over the mic, I would like to invite you to join us at the 10th edition of the World Cities Summit, which takes place from the 14th to the 16th of June this year in Singapore. The summit brings together government leaders and key industry players from around the world. We look forward to deepening conversations, furthering collaboration and innovation to build and shape better cities for tomorrow. Thank you all, and I wish you a fruitful and engaging session ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Lim. Before we hear from the guest speaker of the webinar this evening, I would like to invite Ms. Yap Leby, the Prize Secretary of the Lee Kuan Yew World City Prize, to give a short introduction on the prize and one of its upcoming program, Urban Leaders Fellowship. As the Prize Secretary for the Lee Kuan Yew World City Prize, Ms. Yap Leby celebrates global best practices in creating livable, sustainable urban communities, and she serves as the co-commissioner for the Singapore Pavilion at the 17th to 19th International Architectural Exhibition of the La Biennale de Venezia. She is the Group Director of Architecture and Urban Design at the Urban Redevelopment Authority, URA, of Singapore, and a registered architect with the Board of Architects in Singapore. Leading a multidisciplinary team of architects and planners at URA, she guides the preparation of structural and urban design plans and formulates policies, strategies, and programs to support Singapore's planning agenda for a sustainable, attractive, and vibrant global city. She also oversees policy reviews and curates public programs that enliven public spaces and promote architectural and urban design excellence. Ms. Yap, please.
Hello, everyone, colleagues and friends, and everyone around the world. Thank you for joining us, tonight's, or rather today's webinar. My name is Leby from the Urban Redevelopment Authority. For us, we are the central planning agency, right? Many of you would know about Singapore, and the prize is named after our first Prime Minister, as Mr. Lee Kuan Yew is instrumental in developing Singapore into what we have today. And as part of the kind of exchange and continual learning, we thought, it's important to cultivate and really continue the exchange between cities. This is one of the reasons why we established the Lee Kuan Yew World City Prize, and we co-administered it together with the Center of Livable City. So this prize, as what Hugh has mentioned, first launched in 2010, we have awarded to 7 laureate cities, Bilbao being our first, New York City, Suzhou, Medellin, Seoul, Vienna, and 2 years ago, we have awarded to Mexico City. And in the coming World City Summit that Hugh has mentioned, which will be in June, we will be unveiling, the latest laureate city and also a good list of special mention cities that, we will be having together as part of the prize. So the prize is an international award, and we want to honor outstanding cities in creating livable, vibrant cities. And in looking at the different cities, cities have faced many common challenges. Some are unique, some are common across the cities. But what we do want to promote and to, in a way, promote their learning between cities is how some of the cities will have taken very innovative approaches or policies or programs to deal with some of these challenges. And this, attribute of a good city will, cascade across different sectors. For example, the importance of having good leadership and governance, having a creative and innovative plans, having plans that will impact and improve the quality of the life for the people, and also the ability to integrate plans and also promote exchange and collaboration between cities. In all, we understand cities are really very complex, and which is why part of the prize is to promote this continual learning. Right, so, and if I can have the next slide as well. So as part of the World City Summit, besides honoring the laureate and the special mention cities, we do organize a series of different programs to, in a way, facilitate and to that continual conversations between cities, and also with the larger audience in the World City Summit. So this will include the prize lectures. We will have different network events. And the next slide would show and outline some of the recent efforts in promoting that bigger and greater conversations between different cities. This range from the Mayor's Forum hosted by the laureate, the last one being in Vienna. We also have some of these support given to the partnering cities in organizing some of their programs. And this today, the webinar series, is one of the first webinar that we wanted to initiate and to organize, again, to facilitate the sharing, not just within the network, but with everyone, representatives, professionals, everyone around the world. Okay, and I just want to talk briefly about today, the webinar series. So this is for our network cities to share the different innovative urban solutions. We can discuss common challenges. We want to showcase the achievement, and also how we can all collectively learn from each other on how we can create livable, vibrant, and urban communities. Then one of the upcoming events that is open to the network cities will be what we call the Urban Leaders Fellowship. So starting this year, this additional program will also allow different professionals from the cities in the network to have that kind of experience firsthand, the ongoing work and best practices, being implemented by the host city. And we are very happy and very honored to have Bilbao, being the laureate city, to be the first city that will offer this Urban Leaders Fellowship. And this will take place in April. And we all look forward to, having that deeper conversations between the network cities, and also, of course, for us to learn more about beautiful Bilbao. Right, so with this, I'd like to hand it back to Chelsea. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Yap. As the inaugural Lee Kuan Yew World City Prize laureate and a distinguished member of the Prize Network, Bilbao has undergone a remarkable transformation from an industrial port to a thriving cultural metropolis. Let me now invite our guest speaker from Bilbao, Mr. Asier Abaunza Robles, to share lessons and insights on Bilbao's transformation, on growing its economy, enhancing mobility, building social cohesion, and its exciting future strategic projects. Mr. Robles is the Councillor Delegate for Urban Planning, Strategic Projects and Public Space, Bilbao City Council. He has led mobility, urban planning, civil works, services, and public space efforts, playing a central role in shaping the city's urban development. He has chaired municipal districts, including District 1, Deusto, and District 3, Ochakoaga, Chodinaga, and presided over several municipal companies such as Achanda Funicular. Sabisa, and Bio Artigas. Councillor, please.
Thank you very much, and thank you very much to Singapore and to the organizers of this wonderful thing. To have the opportunity of sharing with you the experience of the transformation of the city of Bilbao. I will try to explain a very small part of all the transformation process, but I will focus on the most important projects that we have developed, and those ones that have had the biggest impact in the transformation process of our city. First of all, as introduction, I will As introduction, the metropolitan area of Bilbao, it's an area of nearly 1 million inhabitants. It's composed of 35 municipalities, most of them in the valley that you have in the picture, the valley of Ibaizabal River, and also in the valley that is next to it, where the airport, for example, is located. Bilbao is occupying all the central part of this valley. We are around 350,000 inhabitants. And although the old town is 14 kilometers far from the sea gets till the old town. And so in the past, the port was occupying all the waterfront of our river. And as you can see in the picture, and also taking on account the orography of our municipality, Bilbao is in a hole surrounded by mountains. So we didn't have, and we don't have, enough flat land, we can say, inside our municipality. So in the past, the factories of these industries that were located in our city, because we were a very industrial city, were located in the only flat land that was in the valley. As I have said, the port facilities were occupying the first row in the city, in the waterfront. And so the city grew in the past, climbing up the mountains. As you can see, in the island of Zorrozaurre, we are 3.5 meters over the sea level. In the central part of the city, we are 15 meters over the sea level. We have some neighborhoods that are climbing up till 80 meters over the sea level. But as you can see in this picture, all the red ones are buildings. There are some neighborhoods that go up till 204 meters in a very short distance. So accessibility is a huge challenge in many of these neighborhoods that they are climbing up the mountain. And more, even if we take on account that we have quite a big amount of old people living in those upper neighborhoods. And so we have to solve this accessibility problem so that people don't get trapped in their own homes in these upper neighborhoods. As I have said before, Bilbao was an industrial city. So this picture shows quite well how it was Bilbao till the 90s, more or less. As I have said, with the port facilities in the first line, with the factories close to these port facilities, and with the city growing in the spaces that were between the factories and between the different transport infrastructures that we had in our city. This is another picture. The factory that you can see in the middle part of the picture was a huge steel factory that was just over the old town and very close to the town hall, for example. Actually, is the biggest green area of the city. It was bought by the municipality once the factory was closed, and we have kept only one of those chimneys to remember the industrial past. But also in the past, Bilbao didn't have any proper green spaces inside the city. The city was planned for the industry. So all the factories were well connected with highways that were connecting the trucks access directly to these factories, or they were located very close to the port facilities. And the train also was connecting, the train infrastructure was connecting all these factories. And so the city grew, as I have said, in those spaces between these factories and these facilities for the industry. This economical model was increases during the 80s and the early 90s. And also in 1983, we suffered the worst floods of the century that completely destroyed the central part of our city. Even some neighborhoods in the southern part of our city got completely buried below the mud and the stones that got down the mountains because of the heavy rain that we suffered during that summer of 1983. So in that critical moment when our industry was going bankrupt, closing all those big factories that were employing a huge people, with thousands of jobs being lost at that time, with these floods of 1983 destroying completely the central part of the city. And also during the 80s and the 90s, we suffered the worst years of terrorism in the Basque Country, with hundreds of people murdered during those years. As I have said, we were in a very deep hole at the moment. So we had to think about the future of our city. And I used to say that the transformation process of the city of Bilbao is not connected with the glamour of the titanium of the Guggenheim Museum. It's much more connected with the mud of the floods of 1983, because it was at that moment when the city was, as I have said, in a very dark hole, when we had to think about where was the future of our city. We had clear that it was not anymore in that heavy industry that we used to have in the past, but in reusing the know-how that we had, that industrial know-how, in a very different way, to build goods that had bigger profits, we can say, that they were generating more jobs connected with these high skills, we can say, connected with this high technology that we had to improve in our industry. And it was not connected with the direct production of this heavy industry inside our city. So we had to focus on advanced services for the industry more than in this production, heavy production that we used to have in the past inside our city. But if you want to be a service provider in city, you need to change completely the shape of that city, because previously, as I have said, the city was planned, was prepared for this heavy industry that we used to have, and now we need a different infrastructure in our city. To make that possible, we did it through a new general urban plan that was finally approved in 1995, where we planned how the city should be for the next 20, 30 years. Recently, in 2022, we have approved the second general urban plan that is deepening in this transformation process of our city, increasing the amount of brownfields that we are transforming in the city of Bilbao. In both plans, in the plan of 1995 and the urban plan of 2022, there is something that is in common, and I think that is very important for any city that wants to achieve a deep transformation process like the one that we did in our case, in the case of Bilbao. And is that you need a wide agreement about which is the strategy that the city is going to follow in the long term. It's impossible to plan the transformation of any city if you are thinking in just a short political term. You need to think in the long term, in a period of 20 years ahead. And to make that possible, you need a wide political agreement. We did it in 1995, and we have recently done also with the new general plan of 2022. In fact, in the second general urban plan, for example, in the citizenship participation process, we got 4,000 people, 4,000 citizens taking part in the discussions about the strategy of the city and the transformation process that we were planning for the following years. And politically, even though we didn't have the need to get to a wide political agreement, because actually we are governing in an absolute majority. I'm a member of the Basque National Party, but we are governing with the Socialist Party and we have absolute majority. Although, as I have said, we didn't have the political need of getting to an agreement with the opposition, we tried hard to get to that political agreement. And that way, only 3 councillors of 29 voted against this second general urban plan of the city, because there will be changes politically in the future, probably in different public institutions, but it cannot happen that because there is a political change in an institution, we are starting again from the beginning, from a white sheet, because the new government does not agree with the general plan that was previously approved by the previous government. So even there are changes in different institutions, probably there will be small changes in the general plan, but it's not a discussion about the general strategy about the future of the city. As I have said, I think is the most important point when you are planning in the long-term transformation of any city. After approving this plan, one of the probably most important project that was developed was to bring the port out of our city. Here in these pictures, you can compare how it was the port in 1998, how it is the port in 2022. The port is still growing. As you can see, we were filling the bay with new land to take all the port facilities out of the river and to bring them to this outer bay. This investment was done directly by the Port Authority. Most of the investment was done using their own budgets for these investments. Of course, they also got subsidies from other public institutions. But it's very important for the city because that way we got free of this kind of infrastructure, the first line, the waterfront of our city. And it was also important for the port because also the business has changed. In the past, it was important to have as much as docklands as possible because ships used to stay some days inside the port. Actually, the ships move quite quickly from one port to another. What is important is to have a wide logistical surface to manage the goods for trade. And inside the city, there was no space for a proper logistical surface. So in this new area, we have a proper space for these new activities in the port of Bilbao. Even some industries that were previously located inside the city have been moved to this space in the outer bay of the port of Bilbao. And also, it is a very important energy hub in Europe, actually, because here we can receive petrol coming by ship. We can receive natural gas also coming by ship. And we have factories close to the port that can transform that petrol and that natural gas into electricity and diesel and many other goods that they are produced with these resources. Also, we have now, as you can see in the top right part of the picture, facilities for the tourism, because in the past we didn't have any. And so we didn't have proper facilities for the tourists to come to the city of Bilbao. And that is how we built also a new cruise terminal in the port of Bilbao, so that the tourists that they are arriving by ship to the city of Bilbao have a proper space for it. We are receiving between 80 and 90 cruises every year to the port of Bilbao, and the amount is increasing last years. But apart from bringing the port out of the city of Bilbao, probably the second most important investment done in this transformation process was the cleaning up of the river, the environmental regeneration of the river of Bilbao. Previously, the river was part of the sewerage system, we can say. Everything was thrown directly to the river without any kind of treatment. Even the industry was throwing everything directly to the river. So if we wanted to be that advanced, modern, attractive service providing city, we need a clean environment. And so we had to clean up completely this area of the river. And to make that possible, we invested around 1,000 million euros in 30 years, which is 8 times more the investment done in the Guggenheim Museum to clean up all this area. To make that possible, we built new infrastructure for the sewerage system, and also we made a modern new facilities and structures for the tap water system. We have a very high quality tap water in the city of Bilbao, and actually the river is clean. There is life again, because previously there was no life. There was zero oxygen, heavy metal pollution, and actually there is life again back in the river. We can practice water sports in the river, and we are still going ahead in these investments to increase the quality of the water of our river. As I have said, it's important to have the long-term planning, to be ambitious with this transformation process, to dream big, we can say, when you are planning how you want to transform the city, but then you must make real that planning, and you must go ahead with all the projects that they are gathered in that general urban plan that you have previously arranged. And as I have said many times, public-private partnership is very important in all these projects. But I think that is the most, or the easiest part of this kind of projects. I mean, to get a private involved in a project, investing the money. If the plan and the project is well thought, it is well calculated, and there is a minimum benefit in the operation, To have someone investing in the project is the easiest part. Usually the most difficult point is to have the public-public partnership. When you must gather different public institutions in the same project, and they must work together in the same project, usually all the problems come together. Who is the one leading the project? Who is the one deciding which project is going to be developed? Who is the one paying? Who is the one investing in the project? This is difficult when you have different public institutions with competences overlapped. It's difficult when you have also different political parties governing different public institutions, and sometimes even with your own colleagues of your own political party, it's not much easier. So how to solve these problems? And to make that possible, we created a tool that is Bilbao Ria 2000. Bilbao Ria 2000, it's a private company that is completely owned by public institutions. And in this scheme, you can see the distribution of the ownership of this company. So the blue ones represent the Spanish government, and the colored ones represent the Basque institutions. So when this society was created in the early 90s, the Spanish government didn't have money to invest in this transformation process. Most of the facilities that were in the central part of the city were owned by the Spanish government. I mean, the railway companies were owned by the Spanish government. The port was owned and is owned by the Spanish government. And even some of the fields that were abandoned by factories that cracked during the 80s were in the hand of the Ministry of Housing of the Spanish government. So they were owning the land in those brownfields in the central part of the city. And so the political agreement was that the Spanish government was providing the ownership of this land, and the Basque institutions were changing the use of the land and providing also economical resources for this. I make a parenthesis to explain that the Basque country is an exception in Europe, and probably an exception, I don't know if in the world also, because although we are part of the Spanish state, we are economically independent from Spain. We fix our own taxes, we get the money from all the taxes, and we pay a fixed amount of money every year to the Spanish government, which is 6.24% of the general budget of Spain in those issues that they are not transferred to the Basque country. And that amount of money must be paid every year. And with the rest of the money, we pay everything in the Basque country. So we pay our own infrastructures, we pay our own education, security, healthcare, social care, everything is paid by our own budget. So we can decide also ourselves where we put the money and where we invest those budgets that we have in the Basque country. Also, the risk is also only for us. I mean, if we manage bad the budget in the Basque country, the Spanish government is not covering us. It's responsibility of ourselves to manage well and properly the money that we are gathering through the taxing system in the Basque country. Through this society, Bilbao Ria 2000, we started, first of all, as you can see in this picture, transforming the warehouses that they are in the lower part of the picture, and building the project that you can see on the right side, which is a housing project designed by the Japanese architect Arata Isozaki, that it's a prescribed price architect. By selling these blocks, this housing project that you can see on the right side of the picture, we got the income to start with the next project, that was the transformation of the area of Abando Ibarra. In the left part of the picture, you can see how it was, this area of Abando Ibarra. There was a railway commuter train that was connecting the factories, and is that right line that you can see dividing the industrial part from the city, we can say. And then in the left low part of the picture, you can see the shipyards of the city that were located in this area, and upper there were the warehouses of the port, and also a container station connected with the port activity. And on the right side, you can see the development of the area of Abando Ibarra with the new public facilities, the new housing projects, and the tower that is the headquarters of Iberdrola, which is the main energy company of the Basque country. In the next picture, in the next slide, you can see the evolution of this project of Abando Ibarra. The master plan was designed by Cesar Pelli, that is an Argentinian architect, another Pritzker Prize architect. And as you can see in the picture on the left side, we started demolishing the buildings in the corners of the area of Abando Ibarra. And in the second picture, you can see the building of the public facilities. In the lower part, the Guggenheim Museum, designed by Frank Gehry. And in the northern corner of the area, we can see the Congress Palace of Euskalduna, designed by Federico Soriano and Dolores Palacios. In fact, the Guggenheim Museum was inaugurated with that container station still going on, and with the train still crossing below the Guggenheim Museum. And on the right side, you can see the area of Abando Ibarra completely finished. Apart from the Guggenheim Museum, designed by Frank Gehry, we have buildings designed by Rafael Moneo, Álvaro Siza, Robert Stern, Ricardo Legorreta, Carlos Ferrater, Krier, first-line architects, all of them, that they are designing and most of the buildings that they are located in this area of Abando Ibarra. And as you can see, where previously we had those port facilities and warehouses, actually we have green areas and cultural facilities, and also new housing blocks that have been built in this area. Another project that was here, you have the comparison of how it was and how it is, this area of Abando Ibarra with the container station. The tower in the middle part of the picture with is the same one in both pictures. Where previously we had that container station, actually we have a square that was designed by Diana Balmori. Below the square, there is an underground parking for rotation and for resident people built in public-private partnership. In the following picture, we have another project that was developed by Bilbao Ria 2000. The reference here is the bullfighting ring that you can see on top left part of the picture, where previously we used to have those railway tracks cutting the neighborhood in different pieces. On the right side, we can see how it has been developed and transformed this area. We covered the tracks of the railway. The train is still there below the street. In fact, that is square that is in the lower part of the picture, and in the central part of the picture, and there is a new train station for passengers. And on the left side of the area, you can see the towers that have been built. It's a housing project. By selling those towers, we got the income to pay for the investment that we have done in front of it. The green area is also, apart from providing a new green space in the city that previously there was none in this area, is also helping us connecting the different heights that we have between the structure that is covering the tracks of the railway and the height of the street where the towers are located. So in this case, what we did is we built a box over the tracks of the railway, and we increased the height of the urbanization of all the streets that they are surrounding this area, so that we were covering this railway infrastructure that, as I have said, is already there below the street. Once we finished this work, the towers that we have seen, they are on the backstage of this picture. We went on digging, and from this point on ahead, decreasing the height of the tracks of the railway and putting all the railways that we have in the central part of the city below the level of the streets in all the central part of our city, because previously the tracks were, as you can see in this picture, on surface, and so they were dividing the neighborhoods. They were a barrier, a physical barrier, that they were dividing different parts of our city. Here the reference is that building that you can see in the middle part of the picture that has two railways in both sides of it. That is the building that you can see in the next slide. Now the area is a pedestrian area with the railway, as I have said, below the street, and all those physical barriers that were created by the railway tracks have been eliminated. So behind this wall, we will have the railway facility, the railway infrastructure, and this public elevator is providing accessibility to the building that is on top of this space. Once we finished this, as I have said, we went on digging and putting all the tracks below the street. Here the reference is that brown building that you can see on the right side of the picture. That is the same building that you can see here on the right side. So the railway facilities and the railway tracks are all of them below the street. And from this point on ahead, we went on, as I have said, eliminating all those physical barriers. This is in Basurto, for example. The white building on the top on the right side of the picture is the same in both pictures. Now we have a playground and a pedestrian space where previously we used to have the tracks of the train. In these cases, there was no physical space to build surrounding the underground new railway facility. What we did is we transformed a different part of the city. On top, on the left picture, you can see the area of Garellano, where previously we used to have the central police station and the central fireman station of the city of Bilbao. We offered the land to the society Bilbao Ria 2000, and it was transformed by this society following the master plan designed by Richard Rogers that you can see on the right side of the picture, building 1,000 housing units, 50% of them social and affordable housing, in 5 different towers, as you can see in the master plan that is on the right side. By selling the ownership of these towers, we got back all the investment that we did to dig and to put all the tracks of the railway below the streets in the central part of our city. This is a picture of these towers, completely finished. As I have said, 50% of these towers, they are social and affordable housing. Another project that we developed was connected with the highway. In this case, the highway was a physical barrier also that was dividing a neighborhood into parts. In this case, we put the highway underground and we built a park over it. In the next picture, you will see how it was the starting point of this work, putting the highway in a lower level, and the actual situation with the park completely finished and the highway below the park that you can see in the picture. This park that we have seen is on the right side of this picture, on right top part of the picture, and at the same time we build a new access from the highway to the central part of the city. That is that tunnel that you can see on the left side of this picture that is getting into the central part of our city. Why we build this new tunnel to access to the city? Because previously the main access from the highway to the city was this wonderful example of brutalism that was built during the dictatorship of Franco, of course, without asking permission to anyone, flying very close to the windows of the blocks that you can see in the picture. And so we wanted to demolish and eliminate this brutal infrastructure. Here the reference is the white building that you can see on the right side of the picture. That is the same white building that you can see in this picture on the right side. Once we built the new access in a tunnel, we were able to demolish that concrete infrastructure and recuperate for the people this space that previously was, we can say, a black dot in the middle part of our city. Another investment that has been recently done in our city is very close to this space of these Garellano towers. That is the transformation of the bus station that we used to have in our city. Previously, we used to have this bus station that was on surface. It was very simple infrastructure. And through public-private partnership, we built an underground new bus station, building 60,000 square meters underground with 455 parking spaces for rotation and 37 bays for buses. Here you can see in the next picture the new underground by Bilbao Intermodal Station. In the first level below the surface, there is the connection with the metro system, the connection with the commuter train, also the connection with the taxi system. And on surface, there is the link with the tram network that we have in the middle part of our city. This underground bus station also has been built thinking in the future, because below the level that is in this picture, there is a second level that is already built, thinking that probably in the future we will need to enlarge this bus station. So the second level is already built, although it's not still used as Bilbao Intermodal Station. This is the surface of this Bilbao Intermodal Station. As I have said, it has been built in public-private partnership. So everything that is below the surface is public, and it's run in a concession model. And we sold the ownership of the building that you can see in this picture that has been built over the bus intermodal station. In that building, there is located a hotel, a residence for students, and a commercial gallery. Apart from this transport facility, also we have made investments in new cultural facilities. This is the Alhóndiga Bilbao, which was an old wine warehouse that was abandoned in the central part of our city. Actually, it's the biggest cultural facility of our city. Inside it, and following the design done by Philippe Stark, we have a sports center with a swimming pool on the roof. We have cinemas, we have an art gallery, we have restaurants, a library, a theater. So a lot of cultural facilities that they are gathered in the same building in this central part of the city. We also built, apart from this Azcuna Centro, of course, the Guggenheim Museum. The Guggenheim Museum is the symbol of this urban transformation of the city of Bilbao, designed by Frank Gehry. I must say that it was built against everyone. All the political parties were against this project at the beginning. Finally, we got we convinced also the Socialist Party to be with us in the development of this project. Excuse me. But most of the cultural movement of the Basque Country was against this project. They were saying that it was going to destroy the Basque culture, that it was an example of North American cultural colonialism coming to our city, and many other things was said at that time. And also for the people, it was difficult to accept that we were investing 140 million euros in this new cultural facility when we were in that economical and industrial crisis that I have explained at the beginning of the presentation. But only 4 years after the inauguration of the museum, we got back all the investment that we did. So since then, it's in black numbers. And this is through the increase in the amount of income that we got through the taxing system in the land of Biscay the following years. Recently, we have renewed the contract for another 20 years, and there was no discussion about it because everyone in Bilbao accepts that it has been very important in this new transformation of our city. We also built the new Congress of Euskalduna we have seen before. It's very important for the professional meetings and congresses that we usually have in our city, and also for the cultural agenda that we have in the city of Bilbao. It's very used. Nearly 96% of the days of the year, it's occupied with different congresses, meetings, and cultural events. We also built the new Bilbao Arena basketball stadium for 10,000 users. And it's also used, apart from the sport events, is also used for different cultural events that we have in the city of Bilbao. Apart from this, it was built also the new Bilbao Exhibition Center. It was built in Baracaldo, very close to Bilbao, in the metropolitan area. And it's nearly 3 times bigger than the previous existing exhibition center. And it's very important for the industrial sector of the Basque Country, because this exhibition center helped the industrial activity of the Basque Country to go abroad with their products and to bring also other companies that want to share their products with us in our exhibition center. So it's very important economically for the metropolitan area, this exhibition center. We also built a new football stadium. The new football stadium is occupying the space that previously was occupying the exhibition center inside the city of Bilbao. In the picture that is in the lower part, you can see the old football stadium and the new one being built. The old one was demolished afterwards, and now we can hold international competitions of any kind. And the building that you can see on the left side of the picture also is quite new. is the new building of the engineering school of the Public University of the Basque Country. I will explain briefly the projects that now we are developing. The most important one is the project of Zorrozaurre. It's an artificial island created in the central part of our river, following the master plan designed by Zaha Hadid. You can see in the upper picture how it was. Previously, it was completely occupied by industry and by port facilities. And in the lower part, you can see the design done by Zaha Hadid for this island of Zorrozaurre. The island is planned as a mixed-use space, 74% for residential use, around 5,500 new dwellings, 50% of them social and affordable housing, and a space for economical activities, 26% for economical activities. The blue ones represent the space for the economical activities. We have planned 2 urban technoparks, one in the northern part of the island, another one in the southern part of the island. The ownership of this technopark is owned by, this space is owned by the municipality, so we are controlling which kind of techno activities we want to attract to our city. And also the buildings and the residential uses are mixed. The free market housing is mixed with the social housing and with the affordable housing. Apart from this planning, we have divided the project in 3 different parts. All the right river bank of the project is already finished, with the houses already built and people living in them, and with the promenades already finished. We are now focusing in the northern and southern parts of the island, developing the urbanization and the new buildings in that part. This is another picture of the right river bank of the area of Zorrozaurre already finished. And this is a picture of the urbanization that we are now developing inside the island. All the space is adapted to climate change. The height of the island has been raised over the existing level, so that we are protected from the floods in this area of Zorrozaurre. Apart from that, we are creating a geothermal network inside the island to provide renewable energy to the houses that they are going to be built in the whole area of Zorrozaurre. And we are increasing the amount of green areas and pedestrian areas in this area of Zorrozaurre, which is 2.5 kilometers long, and as you have seen in the previous picture, located in the middle part of the river. There are some industrial buildings that are going to be kept and that has been refurbished and that have been rehabilitated, and we already have new universities also running in these industrial buildings. We have DigiPen, that is a university focused in digital design and video games. They have colleges in Washington and in Singapore, and the European one is here in Bilbao, in the island. We have also the European Institute of Design, Kunsthal, that they are located in another industrial building that has been rehabilitated, and in another industrial building that you can see here, the transformation of the building that previously was an screw producing factory. Now we have the University of Mondragon, which is a cooperative university of the Basque Country, providing degrees on advanced services for the industry. Here you can see the previous and the actual view of this area of the university that has been transformed. We have, for example, in the University of Mondragon, we have 1,000 students actually studying in this university that is already running in this island of Zorrozaurre. Another project that we are planning, we are starting this year with this master plan, with the definition of the urban planning of this area, is Punta Zorroza. It's just in front of the island of Zorrozaurre. It's another industrial area that it's abandoned, that must be transformed. So we have a lot of brownfields also to be transformed here. The plan that the master plan has been designed by the engineering company IDOM, that it's a Basque engineering company. Here you have the master plan for this area. Here we are planning 2,000 new dwellings. 43% of them, they are going to be social and affordable housing. And on the upper part of this area, we are planning another space for economical activities. In this case, we are going to focus on audiovisual sector. So we want to locate here companies that they are connected with the cinema, television, and series filming productions, and all the audiovisual sector of the Basque Country. We want to promote it in this area of Punta Zorroza. Another project that this is some views of this area of the master plan of Punta Zorroza, with the housing development, also keeping some historical industrial buildings that we have in the area, and the hub connected with the audiovisual sector that we are planning in this space. And probably the biggest project that we have actually, and we are planning for the future, is the transformation of the central station, the transformation of Abando train station. That is the area that you can see in this picture. It is dividing two important neighborhoods of the central part of our city, the neighborhood of Abando and the neighborhood of Bilbao La Vieja. We want to eliminate this last railway barrier that we have in our city. And the project that we are developing is this one. We are planning to have the high-speed train in a third level below the surface. In the first level below the surface, we will have the commuter train. We are going to keep the old railway infrastructures as historical buildings, but the idea is to transform completely the surface of this area by building this underground new train station. This is a view of how it will be the access to this new underground train station, reusing part of the existing old infrastructure. This is another view of this new underground train station. As I have said, with the commuter train in the first level and with the high-speed train in the lower level of this new underground train station. And that way, putting all these railway facilities underground, we will be able to create a central park over the train station with new housing development in both parts of the area that is free of this kind of railway tracks, and also with a space for new economical activities in this central part of the city. The master plan is designed by Arup and partners, Arquitectura, Agronomía, and González Cabi and Cabrera, Arquitectura and Urbanismo. This team is the winner of the tender the international competition that we arranged for the definition of the master plan of this area of the central station of Abando. These are some views of how we expect that this area will be in the future. Now we are finishing the definition of the project with the Spanish Ministry of Transports, and I will end my presentation here. So open to all the questions and doubts that you could have about the transformation process done in Bilbao and those projects that we are planning for the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor, for the inspiring presentation on the urban transformation of Bilbao. Moderating our discussion this evening is Mr. Eugene Lau, the Project Director of the Lee Kuan Yew World City Prize. Mr. Lau brings with him over a decade of experience in planning and urban design. He previously served at the Housing and Redevelopment Board and was the Deputy Director of the Urban Design Technologies Department, where he championed innovative tech-driven approaches to urban design. Audience members who wish to pose your questions to the speaker can upload them using the Q&A chat box at the side on the screen. Without further ado, let me now hand over the time to our moderator, Mr. Lau.
Thank you, Chelsea. First and foremost, I'd like to thank Councillor Asier for the extremely rich and layered overview of how Bilbao has transformed over the years. Remarkably, not just through landmark projects, but also through many decades of very well-coordinated work across infrastructure, neighborhoods, and I'm very, very amazed with the quality of the public spaces that Bilbao has created over the years. While the questions are coming in, perhaps I would like to get the ball rolling, Councillor, with a very first question from myself. You have served as a councillor for many years, and I would like to get your expertise. How do you actually be involved across multiple political terms? What kind of mechanisms or what kind of shared principles help you to maintain long-term continuity, even as leadership keeps changing and priorities change with each leadership?
Urban planning is something dynamic that must be adapted all the time to all the needs that the city has at any moment. But nevertheless, I think it's important to have a general strategy that is clear and that is, as I have said in my presentation, that is shared also among most of the stakeholders of the city. If the strategy, the general strategy is clear and it's agreed among most of the political agents and stakeholders of the city, then the discussions are, we can say, less important. I mean, probably we will have discussions about if this public facility must be focused on this use on the other, but we are not discussing that here must be located a public facility, for example, or if we are thinking about housing, for example, we can have discussions about the design of the blocks that are going to be built in this space or in the other, but there is no discussion that we need to build that amount of housing in that central part of our city. So once the strategy is agreed generally, then the discussions are more about the detail, we can say, of each development that is done. And so I think it's easier to adapt. So I think if you are thinking in the long-term planning, it doesn't matter if there are few or big changes politically in each institution. If there is a wide political agreement about the general strategy of the city, then the discussions and also the changes in the urban planning are less. And also, it's easier. As I have said, one of the most difficult points that is the cooperation with the rest of the public institutions that must collaborate in the development of this kind of infrastructures and facilities. If the rest of the institutions also have a general view that is strong, I mean, that is kept in the long term, also for the rest of the public institutions, it's easier to be involved in that strategy because they have clear which is the last point where you are going to go with that strategy and the goals that you want to achieve with that strategy. And so that it's easier to involve them in that strategy if you have done it, as I have said, properly, thinking in the long term and getting to those wide political agreements.
Thank you, Councillor, for those very wise words. Those are very good insights indeed. I would like to bring about something that you mentioned just now in your presentation, the wonderful example of brutalism, the viaduct that you have, the city has decided to demolish. I myself, I'm an architect by training, so I can't help but to find that hilarious as well. I can't help but realize that the plans that Bilbao has created over the years involves a lot of removal of infrastructure, but more often than not, we do face challenges when we're trying to convince stakeholders like residents that there is a need to remove a certain infrastructure that might impact, let's say, for example, active mobility for them in the short term. But in the long run, there are long-term effects and positive effects that will stand to benefit them. How does the city go about convincing and working with different stakeholders in illustrating this to them?
It's important to involve the citizenship in these strategies. We haven't demolished all these brutalist infrastructures that we have in our city. Some of them, for example, have been reused, have been transformed. For example, we have another highway that was cutting the northern neighborhoods of the city in different parts, where we didn't demolish the highway. What we did is we transformed the highway in a normal street with trees that have been planted, with sidewalks that have been built in both sides, reducing the speeds of the cars, creating several ways, because previously you had to cross below the highway or over the highway from one corner of the neighborhood to the other. And now it's a normal street in the central part of the city. And so in the design of the public spaces, we try to involve also the people living in those neighborhoods. So we have different districts in our city. Inside the districts, we have discussions with the stakeholders of these neighborhoods. I mean, with representative people of the associations of those neighborhoods. Usually we present the projects in those district councils so that people can know better the detail of the project that we are planning in each of these neighborhoods. And we get also the input of them about the project. I mean, sometimes we change the project that we are planning to adapt it to the needs or the ideas that the people of those neighborhoods wanted to share with us about how can be adapted, how we can be changed. And I think it's important. And as I have said, when we were thinking about the new general urban plan of the city, we made a big effort to involve the people in the discussions about the urban planning. So that way we got 4,000 people taking part in those discussions. Of course, to make that possible about something so technical as an urban planning, you need to adapt the language and you need to adapt the documents that you are using for the discussion, because most of the people don't know anything about urban planning. So you must adapt the information so that the information that you are sharing, it's clear for them, and so that the discussions must be done or can be done in a rich and proper way. And to make that possible, for example, we created virtual reality videos in YouTube so that people could see easily which were the different solutions that we were planning for a certain area of the city, because many people even don't know how to understand a map. You provide them a map, a technical map, and probably they don't know where their houses are located and what you are thinking by that project and by that using that design about the transformation of the neighborhood. And so using virtual reality, we had the possibility of explaining in a very visual way how it is actually the neighborhood, which were the different solutions, and that way we could focus the discussion about, okay, which of these three solutions you think it could be better for your neighborhood. And sometimes it was none of them, and we thought about a fourth different solution about the neighborhood. And in a pair of cases, the solution was not to intervene anything in the neighborhood and to let the neighborhood as it was, because they were happy with the shape of the neighborhood and with the infrastructure that they had in the neighborhood, and they didn't want to change anything. So depending on each district and in each neighborhood, we focused the discussion so that we could get a wide agreement among the people living in that neighborhood. And that also helped us in the political discussion, because for the political parties, it was more difficult to oppose something that has been previously agreed with the people living in that neighborhood.
Thank you, Councillor. These are wise strategies, and it's very heartening to see that Bilbao always places the people first in all the plans that you make. I have a lot of questions coming in. I'm just going to pick one of the questions that I see over here. We've seen a lot of projects, beautiful projects being completed over the years. How do you prioritize the importance of all these different projects? And the funding, the money is never enough. So how do you get the funding to implement all these different projects? And when the money is here, how do you decide which project to implement first to ensure accessibility and equity for everybody?
Well, we have a distinction between which are the budgets and the projects that we think that they are structural for the city, that must be developed, that they are planned in a longer term. The leadership and the decision about which ones are the most important is taken by the municipality, by the mayor of the city, and that way we decide which ones are the priorities for the municipality in each moment, and we focus our budget, our own budget, to those projects that we have prioritized previously with the mayor and following the the general strategy that I have explained before. But apart from that, we have an amount of money which is nearly 56 million euros per political term that is decided directly by the neighbors of each district for different interventions in each district. Most of them, they are focused on the transformation of streets or parks or public facilities, for example, to make completely pedestrian a certain area of the neighborhood, to build a new public facility in the neighborhood, and so on. Those investments are agreed with the neighbors in each of these district councils for the political term of 4 years. So we have an investment plan of 4 years that is agreed with the neighbors of each district. And apart from that, we have the budget that is following the leadership and the strategy of the mayor and the political party that is ruling the municipality, because we must fulfill also which are our electoral objectives and the goals that we fixed in our electoral promise, we can say, before the election. So we must fulfill all those projects, and so we plan the investment following the general strategy of the city, but apart from that, fulfilling all our compromises for the political term. Apart from our own budgets, as I have said before, we try to involve also the rest of the political public institutions so that we get also the help of the Basque government, the help of the land government of Biscay, and in some cases also the help of the central government of Spain, involving them in those big strategical projects that we have seen in the general strategy of the city of Bilbao. In the case of Bilbao Ria 2000, the way of financing those big transformation projects is that, first of all, we provide to this society some public resources and the land that we own in these areas, and we ask for loans to the banks. And by selling the different blocks that can be built once the transformation process is finished, we get back the money that previously was asked to the banks through different loans and so on. That way, this society, Bilbao Ria 2000, has been able to invest another 1,000 million euros in 30 years, being in black numbers since 2019. By selling those white towers that we have seen previously, designed by Richard Rogers, the master plan, we have been able to pay the last part of our debt in this society, Bilbao Ria 2000, after doing all those projects that we have seen before. And now that the society is in black numbers, we are planning the next project. So, of course, the society, we will need to ask for new bank loans to start the transformation of the new areas that we are going to develop through this society, Bilbao Ria 2000. And we expect to be, again, in black numbers once we finish this transformation process in those areas.
Thank you, Councillor. This is a very interesting financing model that Bilbao Ria has developed that seems to be very effective in helping to recoup the bank loans as well as invest into public infrastructure as well. I have a question here. So there's a lot of amazing architecture in Bilbao, as we can see, starting off from Gary's Guggenheim, may he rest in peace. We have Richard Rogers' master plan. So we have a lot of what we call star architects or starchitects. So there's a question here that's asking, is it a deliberate strategy to appoint all these star architects? And if yes or no, why is that so?
Yes, it is part of the strategy. We make a mixture of, we can say, star architects and local architects. But we had clear that it was also part of our strategy, part of our need, we can say, to bring this kind of first-line architects to the design of the new city that we were planning in the case of Bilbao. Because through these well-known architects, we have been able to put Bilbao again in the world map. We used to have quite good examples of classical architecture in the city of Bilbao, but we were not internationally well known because of that. And by bringing to Bilbao architects like Foster, Gehry, Moneo, and so on, we have been able to put Bilbao also in terms of architecture and urban planning in the international map. And so it was also part of our internationalization strategy of the city of Bilbao.
Thank you. Thank you for your answer. I do have quite a number of questions on the public-private partnerships as well as the public-public partnership. I mean, coming from a government agency, I do sense and completely agree that sometimes it's more difficult when you're working with a public-public partnership. Yeah, fully agree on that. I have a question here. They are interested in learning how government agencies can more effectively engage businesses, and how does Bilbao, what kind of mechanisms you use to attract corporate investment, particularly for your public-private partnerships?
We have used, in most of them, we have used concessions over the public space, we can say. For example, I didn't explain anything about it, but in terms of the parking strategy, for example, in 7 years, we have been able to build 20,000 underground parking spaces, attracting a private investment of 220 million euros through this concession model, for example. In the case of the underground parkings, for example, we provide concessions of 40 years if the parking is going to be for resident users, and for 20 years if it's going to be a rotational parking. And in many cases also we have done packages with the different parkings, so that in the same concession we put a central parking with a parking in an upper neighborhood. That way, part of the cost of building the upper neighborhood is transferred to the central part. It is sold more expensive, the parking space in the central part of the city. It is sold cheaper, the parking space in the upper neighborhood. And that way is balanced, taking on account the medium income of the families in each neighborhood. And for the construction company, it's balanced because what they are losing in one part, they are winning in the other. In this case, for example, we are not selling the ownership of the parking spaces. We sell the right of parking during the years of the concession. At the end of the concession, after the 40 years, the parking is going back to the municipality. It is going to happen the same thing with the underground bus station, with the intermodal station that we have seen before. The concession was for 40 years. Once those 40 years are passed, the station is coming back to the municipality. So most of them, they are through concessions. In other cases, for example, in the case of the techno park that we are developing in the island of Zorrozaurre, we are offering different solutions depending on the company that we want to attract to the city. So in some cases, we are providing the possibility of having a concession over the land. In other cases, we are selling the field to the company that is going to be building their new headquarters in the techno park of the island of Zorrozaurre. It depends on the negotiation with the company.
Thank you, Councillor. These are such interesting ideas that I'm sure the council changes from time to time depending on the different contexts of where it's being applied on. The council has done such a great job in coming up with interesting, innovative models, financing models, implementation models, and completed so many projects that you almost make it seem that it was done so easily, But I'm sure that there must have been so many challenges that you have faced and your team has faced over the years. Could you share with us what was the most unexpected challenge that you have encountered during this whole phase of development, and how you or your team have gone on to manage that challenge?
There are plenty of difficulties, a lot of them in all the projects. Now it's wonderful to share the pictures of how it was, how it is. Like it was magic, like doing that way, and it was built in a second. but it's not that way. All the projects need a long negotiation with a lot of partners to be developed. In the island, for example, in the island of Zorrozaurre, we have been facing a huge amount of problems to develop it. One, for example, the most obvious one, to transform the artificial peninsula in an island and to open the canal to create the island. It was not possible legally to do it because in the Spanish regulations, that was a change of the seaside, and we cannot change the shape of the seaside. And so the only way to solve that problem was that as we still had the port authority inside the river of Bilbao, and the port is allowed to do some works in the docklands, we negotiated with the Spanish government in a law that was discussed in the Congress that there was a specific regulation for the port of Bilbao to open the canal and create the island. And that was negotiated, for example, in a law that was discussed at that moment that was regulating the stamps, the parcels, and the messages in Spain. And at the end, that has nothing to do with the rest of the text of the law. There is a regulation that was in Bilbao, it is possible to open the canal. And that political negotiation was quite hard in Madrid to get the possibility of opening the canal. And that way we were able to do the work. And once we were opening the canal, also it happened that a small bird that is a protected species of bird decided to build a nest in the middle of the canal. And so we couldn't disturb the bird while the nest was located in that part of the river. So all the discussions during the development of the work were, okay, how much meters we have gone ahead? How are the birds? So these kind of problems happened when we were developing all these projects, apart from the most normal ones connected with the pollution of the soils, the structure of the soils, discussions with neighbors surrounding the projects. So, well, all the normal discussions and problems that I think all the cities must face.
Thank you, Councillor. That was one amazing story and one amazing challenge as well. We are almost running out of time. I apologize to all the people who contributed to questions. Many interesting questions. Perhaps I could just end off with one closing question for you, Councillor. If you were advising a city who is just, about to embark on its long transformation journey, what is the one principle or one key mindset that they must commit to? Even when it's going to be slow, it's going to be painful. What is your advice for them?
It can be contradictory what I will say, but I think it's the clue for any city that must do this kind of process. First of all, you must be ambitious. I mean, you must dream big, and you don't have to be afraid about being ambitious about those transformation processes. And as I have said, you must dream about what you expect for your city and how can be done that transformation process. But at the same time that you are thinking big, that you are being ambitious in this plan, then you must be realistic when you are going to the detail of that general idea that you have for the transformation of your city. Because at the end, the project must be affordable. And previously we were talking about the money. The project must be affordable. There must be a way of financing the project that you are going to develop. So you must imagine how you make it viable economically so that it can be developed. And you must involve, as I have said, the rest of the institutions and the actors that you need to transform that part of the area. So at the same time, I think that you must be very ambitious, but at the same time realistic about how you are going to pay for that investment. In the case of Bilbao, we have been able to develop all the projects that we have seen before. Having the Bilbao Ria 2000 Society in black numbers since 2019, and the municipality of Bilbao is free of debt since 2011. And now we are earning the money that we will need for the next development. And we know that we still don't have all the money that we need for the whole development that we are planning for the future. But we have enough to start with the next steps of this transformation process.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor, for the precious knowledge that you have shared in your case studies, in your advice and your insights. I will now pass the screen back to my colleague, Chelsea. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor and Mr. Lau. Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of this webinar. We would like to extend our heartfelt thanks to our guest speaker for his insightful sharing and to our moderator for leading the fruitful discussion. To stay informed about upcoming events, news, and highlights from the Lee Kuan Yew World City Prize, please visit our website and LinkedIn page. Thank you all, and I wish you a pleasant evening.